Hi everyone, I am Kendi and I am the founder and owner of Barbara McKenzie. It's a clothing brand that I started off as a hobby several years ago, and over time it actually began to transform and turn into a business, and it is still growing. I will say that it is still growing. It's not yet as big as other local clothing brands that we see out there, but I decided to make these videos to basically help those who have hopes of starting their own businesses, and basically take you through a series of steps that will help you set up your business in in a lot easier way than I had experienced. Just a disclaimer, this is really based on my experience, the things that I've had to think about, decide on, do research on, and all of that stuff. And when I reflected, I was like, I wish someone had actually, helped me, with these processes and giving me a heads up on really what to do and what to look out for. And so I decided to do this little series of videos. It's going to be like a little bit of a series where I'll do a video on each topic, and you can go through the series of videos to help you get started up. In terms of the fabrics and the designs and the styles, I think that's a very personal choice. And I think, whether you want to go the African print route, suits, baby clothes, sportswear, maternity wear, whatever drives you to make that choice, I think it's a very personal choice. But once you've made that choice and you know what you want to do, I'm here to help you with setting up the business. So this video, I've got notes and I'll be just going through them just to keep me on track. Throughout these videos, I'm going to give you South African examples and context so that you're familiar with the examples that I'm making. I don't want to go use things like Tesla. What is Tesla to a South African? Anyway, so to start off this module, it's all about business models, which will basically explain how businesses work on the back end of it. I'm going to discuss the two models along with their various types and advantages and disadvantages. The first business model that is used by some clothing brands is the reselling model. And what this simply means is that you buy something at a certain price, you add on your markup, and you resell for another price. Simple example, you buy a dress for 100 Rand, you add your 200 Rand profit margin or add on, and then you sell for 300 Rand, and that is how you make your money and profit. There are three types of these. I'm just going to keep looking at my notes because I've got it all in bullet points. The first one is basically purchasing unbranded clothes and marking them as your own. For example, I feel like some streetwear brands do this, where you buy basic t-shirts and then you put on your brand or what you stand for, and you resell that as your brand. That is very easy, it's simple, because you're not making the t-shirts per se. The only difficult part is that you're actually branding them. That's type number one. Type number two is very popular on the internets, which is called drop shipping. I think though the trend now is moving towards drop servicing, without having all the returns and the actual logistics of running it. But in a very simplified way, if you know AliExpress is basically like a drop shipper. What they do is that you as a customer, you go on the website, you find what you like. Let us say you're looking for a wig, a jacket, a shoe, whatever it is. You go on there, you find the one you like. And what AliExpress does is connect you to a warehouse or a shop in China, which will then fulfill the order. So on AliExpress, you might see it as $60, but the Chinese website is selling it for maybe $30. So what AliExpress will do is that they will keep $30, and then the other $30 goes to the Chinese website, who will then fulfill the order, meaning they will handle courier and everything on AliExpress's behalf, and you get it. I'm going to go into the advantages and disadvantages just now. And basically the third one is to be a stockist of brands. So this is what Edgar's does. I think even Pick and Pay, if we're really being honest. So what these businesses do is that they resell established brands under their name. So what Edgar's does, I think Edgar's has 2 brands of their own, which is Free to Be You and Kelso. But you do know, if you've walked into an Edgar's store, you will find Adidas, Nike, Forever New, whatever other brands they have. And that is what they do. They just become stockists of these other brands. I think even Topshop, which works to an advantage, because like now, Topshop doesn't have to pay rental fees in Sandton and Mall of Africa. All they do is pay for the little section they use within Edgar's and probably have a percentage taken off. So that is what a stockist does. An online one is Zando as well. What they do is that they stock all these brands and they take a percentage off, but then they are the ones who process all the sales. So even though you're buying a Nike sneaker from Zando, Zando will ship it out, not Nike. So those are the types. And basically the advantages and disadvantages of all these basically reselling type of models is that you are stress free. You don't have to worry about finding someone to make something for you. You don't have to worry about sending something back because they used the wrong zip, or they used the wrong buttons, or they cut it wrong, or the size isn't as wrong. You are stress free. And honestly, personally, I really do love and respect reselling. I think if you really want to drive volume, that's the best way to do it, because you are focused more on other aspects of the business as opposed to actually quality checking, making, and any of that other kind of activity. Another thing is that it's time saving, just like the stress-free part. All you do is you choose what you want, it's brought, end of story. And then, like I mentioned, the rebranding, if you're buying t-shirts and having someone brand them, that's another cost that you would add on to your selling cost. But other than that, if you're simply reselling, it is the most simplest calculation on earth. And now we are going to go into the disadvantages. The first one I've got on my list is that you have no control over design, quality, or any sort of influence of how the product comes out, which for me I think is a disadvantage because I am a creative person. So I enjoy having to say, I definitely want to make this pink set, you know, for example. Therefore I can choose my fabric and how the design is going to look. And then the second one I have, which I think is one of the biggest disadvantages, is that you are not the only person buying that. And this is particularly for if you're buying from a wholesaler. For example, I don't know if other provinces are like this, but in Joburg, China Mall is the place, you know. I think it's a very, very simple and easy way to make money. And I think a lot of Instagram boutiques actually resell things from there. I could be wrong, please let me know if I'm not, but I think it's the simplest way to make money. But the disadvantage is that you are not the only one selling that, right? And that's okay, because branding, which will be discussed at a later stage, can actually justify why you can charge more than another brand. But we'll get there later. But in a very simplistic, basic way, you're not the only one. And if your branding is not as strong on its own, if you guys all have the same green dress and you are all selling, or well, the others are selling it at 600 Rand, if you come and you sell it at 1,500 Rand, it actually might just not sell because the other people are selling the same thing at a lower price, right? But then, ta-ting, if you have your own target market, you might be justified in doing that. For example, if these are the 3 brands selling the same dress as the green dress, as me, if their target market is women like myself who are, you know, in their 20s, close to 30s, with a certain income and they don't want to spend more than 1,000 rand on something, they can all charge the 600 rand. But if my target market is business execs, you know, politicians' wives, the higher end of the country, I can justify charging 1.5 because, you know, maybe they're used to spending 5,000 rand on an item. So basically, in a nutshell, if you're all going to buy from the same supplier, like China Mall, you got to be mindful of those things, that if the going rate for this dress is 600 rand, I can't go too crazy and charge 200 rand more unless my target market is completely unaware of these other brands and they only know me and I offer a superior service. Then I can justify that price. But that's another one. The pricing and the finance of it will be another video. I've got it all on here. So the second type is the production model, which is basically really, as the name says, you actually produce your own stock. And there's three types of these types of businesses. The first one is ready to wear, which is basically what H&M, Mr. Price, Cotton On, all these stores are. What they do is that they make their clothes in bulk, let's say 50 units, even though that's a joke. It's a very low number for a retailer like that. But let's say they make 50 units, they put it in the shop, they sell, done. The second one is a custom made or a tailor kind of business where you specialize basically in one of a kind garments. So that is designers like, forgive me for butchering the name, I think it's Tuelo. He makes those beautiful special occasions kind of traditional wear. I'll insert a picture just now. And basically brands like Ora Bleng. Yeah, I'm sorry. My tongue is not, no. Gert Johan is also another one who basically makes special one-of-a-kind garments. And that can be a clothing business on its own where you do one-of-a-kind items and, you know, easy peasy. But it's not. Custom-made stuff are not easy. And then the third one is made to order. So made to order employs basically principles of the first two, which is ready to wear in the sense that it is the same item being made, but also is sort of custom made because you only make it when people order it. So for example, this pink set I had made and it sold out, but people still were interested in it. So that is when I employed the made to order system, where people would pay in advance and order their set in a size medium or large, or even some people would be like, you know what, pink is a lot for me, can I please have mine in navy blue, right? And then I made them and then I shipped them out. There are businesses who do this, and I'm going to get into the advantages very quickly, but the biggest one is that if you made one sample and people didn't like it, you didn't waste money making 20 units and it's now sitting there. So that's the biggest benefit of made to order. With actually all of custom production, you have the design freedom to design as you wish, in the colors you wish, in the styles you wish. And that is the greatest part of it, right? Across all of these is that it's actually time consuming. Whether you're doing the sewing yourself or someone is doing it for you, the lead times are gigantic. You actually spend a lot of time within production. And because if you're not doing it abroad in China, it can be quite expensive here. I do know a clothing brand that's South African based, but she does her production in China, and then she sells here. But if you're doing it locally, it can get very expensive. I think because we don't have loopholes, you actually pay people what they're worth here. And then it is time consuming, as I've mentioned. But custom clothing is a little more time consuming than the other parts. Simply because with a custom made anything, whether it's a suit, it's a wedding dress, it's a bridesmaid's dress, it's a matric dance, there are always changes. So if you're gonna go into custom made clothing, honey, you better have the time and the patience to do things over and over, make alterations, make changes, all of that stuff. But the biggest benefit about custom clothing is that you justify that price. So number one, you're getting an item that no one else has. Number two, it's made to your body. Like if you had a size 20 waist and then the biggest hips, it is made for you, honey, because you're not gonna get that at Mr. Price. So anything that is made for you, for your body, cannot be cheap. It cannot. So that is the biggest advantage of custom made clothing, is that you can charge a premium and the premium is justified. Another advantage of all of these is that you achieve economies of scale. This is a term I learned in varsity and I was like, you don't really. But over time, you know, the more we used it in class, I realized, oh, it's when you do things in bulk and then it gets cheaper. Duh. No, it wasn't duh then. Now I've gotten used to it. But you basically spread the cost over several units as opposed to one item as custom order would have it. And this is in terms of time, money, and you're also, if you're outsourcing a service, it gives you the opportunity to leverage or negotiate discounts, which I think is the best part, especially if you have a long-standing relationship with the person who makes the clothes for you. And those are basically the advantages. But when we look specifically at made to order items, like I mentioned previously, you spend money as it comes in. So with ready to wear, whether people liked this or not, I've already spent X amount making them, right? But if I only make one and people don't like it, I've only lost money for one unit, not the whole set of 20 units, right? So that is the biggest advantage of made to order, and I think that is why some clothing brands locally use that. You're not investing in something that might or might not sell, which I think is the biggest peace of mind, especially with the economic times we are facing here, you know. And, you know, unfortunately, if something doesn't sell, you have the freedom to discontinue it, and that's it. You know, you didn't have to spend money making it. Okay, I think like I'm waffling. But the disadvantage is that you don't have economies of scale the same way you do with ready to wear. With made to order, you, let's say you will go to the shop and buy the fabric every time someone orders. That means petrol, you know, to go up and down and buy things and, you know, do that, which is a waste of money, honestly speaking. But if you are gonna buy the whole roll of pink so that it's sitting at your house and you don't have to drive up and down, you can save that cost. But in terms of a time cost attached to it, you're not cutting 10 pairs of small, 10 pairs of medium, or 10 larges all at once. You're gonna do it every single time someone does it. So you might get only 2 smalls and 15 medium orders, meaning that every time someone orders, you're gonna cut. And that is what made to order sales is like. They don't all come at once. You might find some people will purchase on payday and that's it. And then some people will purchase the following week or once all their debit orders are gone. So the sales fluctuate and you have to make them as people order. So you can't really predict that this is how many orders of small I'm gonna get, which is the And yeah, and another disadvantage, if you are not making the clothes yourself, the disadvantage is that you have no control on how fast the person can make them. So a lot of businesses in South Africa actually outsource the production part of the clothes, where they have someone making the clothes either in their factory in Joburg CBD, in Cape Town, in Durban, or in their homes like Fourways or Joburg South or wherever they are. That is the one disadvantage, is that you don't have control. That I have this order, can you do it now, and then I'm gonna send it tomorrow or send it later in the week. You don't have that control, which is probably the most frustrating part of made to order. But if you are making the things yourself, then easy peasy, you are happy, you make your orders, they go, done.